welcome back to a brand new Chosen guide against the Chosen Warlock this time around for Long War of the Chosen here. We are facing off the Warlock on a full retaliation mission, but for now we're just gonna be interested in his abilities. And it's a long list, as with the Assassin, but I'm kind of trying to sim it down to the most important stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff is the same as the Assassin has, like balanced, moving target, volt, that kind of stuff. So the stuff to look out for is, in this case, his primary action is really just a reduced mobility movement. So he's not going to be able to use his full mobility on a reaction. Or he can use combat readiness. Combat readiness is this getting additional explosive damage reduction and defense bonus. Now it says gain a reduced mobility movement action or combat readiness after taking damage on XCOM's turn. Well, that's not all that he does. He can also do several of his psionic abilities. Most importantly, the spectral zombie spawns a bunch of spectral zombies. These are the ones you're already familiar with, where they can do this rupture animation, and then if you kill them they explode, or if they get another turn they will explode in your face. The other thing he can do as a reaction when you shoot him is Spectral Army. Summons a bunch of ghostly guards, which are just, phantom stun lancers. And he is in stasis, cannot be targeted, but also doesn't take any actions while the Spectral Army is out. It is important to know that while this implies, hey, just leave the Spectral Army alive, and clear the whole map, and then deal with the Warlock, that's not going to work. He can basically, he's not actually removing the Spectral Army. He's just going to come out of stasis after 2 turns. So you have 1 turn where he definitely guaranteed will not do anything, but then the following turn you have to deal with him. So you can't just indefinitely delay dealing with him. Now, what other abilities does he have? He can teleport an ally. That can be really nasty, especially since the Chosen turn is coming before Advent's turn, so he could teleport any unit behind you to your flank, whatever, and then that unit gets an action, or both its actions, during the regular alien turn, so they might be shooting you in the back. There's not really much counterplay to this, outside of, I don't know, having somebody on Overwatch who can shoot down that enemy, but there's also no rhyme or reason on when he does it or when he doesn't. Just be aware that this can happen and deal with consequences. Mind control. Full mental control of a target. 3-turn cooldown for short duration. There is very little you can do against this. If your priest mind controls you, or a sectoid, you got your flashbangs, you can... but the only way to stop the mind control against the Warlock is killing the Warlock. Well, technically not the only thing. You can, if you have a psionic, stasis your mind-controlled guy. That breaks the mind control. Other than that, the best thing you can do with your mind-controlled unit is kind of control them in a way. AKA use the stun gun on them, or maybe just throw a flashbang on them. Or I think Stock Bash, is that a thing in base? Is that match jam? I don't know. So the usual kind of stuff. Now, well, I guess you can clear the mind control with any sort of abilities that clear mental effects. Mind Scorch. Attack on the target, damaging them, 40% chance to burn the target. This also can jump to additional targets if you're clumped up, so something to be aware of. The burn chance is really the, it says 40%, but it will always burn when you can least deal with it, so be aware of that. Maybe pack an extra medkit or two. Then over here, you summon followers. When he spawns in, he will summon a couple followers, a couple units, and he will then use the Warlock's greatest champion. So whenever he summons followers, he will mark one of them at the start of the combat as the greatest champion. So giving them a shield, an aim, and a boost to critical hit chance, aim, willpower, psi offense, etc. to an ally. While this ally is alive, the Warlock has 67% damage reduction, so he takes very, very little damage while the greatest champion is alive. 3-turn cooldown. So once you kill the greatest champion, you can do damage to the Warlock, but if you take too long, he's gonna make a new greatest champion. And he can cast that. Now, well, initially he will almost always cast it on a unit he summons. He could feasibly cast that on any enemy that's on the field during the actual engagement. So if you have something scary like a berserker or something out there, that's suddenly boosted with shield and offense and all the other effects that you really don't want to have, and you have a whole bunch of HP to chew through before you can get back to the Warlock. I think everything else. Oh yes, no, this is a very important one. Close combat specialist. He gets a free reaction shot with his assault rifle at any enemy within 4 tiles who moves or attacks and comes close to him. So that's something to be aware of. You might just have to. You can cancel this. This is kind of one of his secondary abilities. You can cancel it by suppression or by fire. And then I guess one other thing, the chosen, well, it's saying chosen mag rifle, but here's of course his disruptor rifle. It has the whole thing where it refunds actions on a critical. Now he does very, very rarely actually shoot. He usually does any size stuff, but be aware that he might just shoot you if you give him too good of a target, and if he crits, he gets his actions refunded. So that's something you don't want to be on the receiving end of. It says he has mark. I don't think I've ever seen him marked somebody, but hey, well, I'm always open for surprises. And of course, then, as said in the Assassin Guide, while he doesn't have an adversary, his weakness here, it's not really relevant. I don't have a Reaper on this mission. I don't think my Reaper was available, but I'm not even sure I would have brought the Reaper unless I had Banish, right? Of course, Banish is always good against any chosen, but then I don't need the adversary effect. It's just because Banish is good, not because he's weak to Reapers. Then in this case, let me just get out of this and go onto this screen for a second here. We also, since we're a little bit later in the game, we have some strengths on him. Also, he got mark as an ability from his strength. Yeah, I don't think he ever actually uses that. And he has a blast shield for 50% reduced damage from explosive attacks. Cool. Alright, that's the ability set of the Warlock. We're gonna go back in time to the Squad Loadout screen, where I make my decisions on what to do about all of these abilities and what kind of classes and abilities on my end I want to bring. Alright, so it's time to build the squad to fight that Chosen. Now, keep in mind, as with the previous Chosen, there's always 2 things. You have to fight the Chosen, but you also have to keep the main objective of the mission in mind. In this case, this is a Advent retaliation mission, and it's the kind where you have a couple of enemies on the map, civilians all scattered around, and they will start shooting civilians, even the unactivated pods, and you just have to sweep objective, clear out all the enemies that are on the map. So with that in mind, I'm bringing 2 snipers to hopefully clear out some long-range stuff. We do have a specialist officer here. We have a couple other soldiers. Actually, let me reconsider something. I do not have a Shinobi in the current loadout, so I guess we are ditching our sort of ranger for a Shinobi, because scouting, as always, is kind of important. And whatever gear I have available right now. Okay. And with the Warlock in mind, his Mind Scorch attack can set enemies on fire. So there's definitely an argument to be made to have more medkits than you usually have. But if you can spread out a little bit, you can usually kind of avoid that. If you have hazmat vests, that might also be something where you can use those. So that's one Warlock specific thing. Then, of course, you know, Mind Shields can be quite nice against the Warlock to stop some of their abilities, but it also usually means that if one person has a Mind Shield, he might just use his Mind abilities on somebody else. I do like, anyway, though, independent of the fight, I like Mind Shields on a Templar, because if they get disoriented, they're kind of really shut down in a big way. So we do have a usual scout now. We do have 2 snipers to take care of enemies on long range. What is good against the Warlock is, of course, your kind of multi-shot attacks. Like, while the Warlock is not coming closer at you each time you damage him, he runs away. So you want to get, when you have a good shot at him, you want to get as much damage in as possible. So, you know, in this case, we have our gunner who has both rapid fires, chain shot, and cyclic fire, which actually is free and not just both, whatever. So he's going to be our main damage dealer. He's also bringing something else super important, and that is suppression. As we've just seen in the ability list, the Warlock has close combat specialist. So if you want to get within 4 tiles of him, he will shoot at you. You can disable that ability by either suppressing him or setting him on fire, which is why we have a technical with incinerator, so long range-ish flamethrower here. Now this is actually kind of a shooty technical we had in this campaign instead of a full flamer technical, but I think it's going to do the trick. Incinerator is kind of the big thing. It's where you have a little bit more range on the flamer. Other than that, of course, we have our sharpshooters to deal most of the damage. What would be great, which I don't have here, would be reliable cover destruction, because if you can, the problem with cover destruction against the Chosen is often that you fire a rocket at them, destroy their cover, but then they get a reaction and they go back into a different cover position with that reaction. So if you have any tool to just take out that cover without hitting the Chosen themselves, they're gonna sit there out in the open, and then you can take your follow-up shot. Great tools for that would be a spark with bombard. Well, I guess demolition on a gunner can be used for that. It's not a perk I usually pick up, but it's definitely useful to kind of destroy the cover of a Chosen to then have follow-up attacks. The problem is the one you want to have follow-up attacks with is also your gunner, so they're kind of trying to fit multiple roles there. And if you have a rocket spec technical that has decent aim, you can of course try to pinpoint, destroy the cover with a rocket while not hitting the Chosen. It's not always going to work, but it's worth a try. Similarly, grenades can have cover destruction if you pack up on Sapper and Combat Engineer, but at the end of the day, it's not super important because there's some other tricks you can do against the Warlock. Now, the Warlock has his summons, right? Both his aliens he spawns when he comes in, which he puts the Great Champion on, and then there's a chance that he spawns the zombies that also then explode if they get the chance, and the Spectral Lances, where he goes into sustain, it becomes untargetable and he only comes out of it once you kill the Lancers. One great thing to do there is to not kill the last Lancer, but rather overwatch him and kill him on the alien turn. I'm gonna see if I can get that done during the mission. The advantage of that is the Warlock doesn't do anything in that turn because he's in sustain, and then you get the full next turn to take advantage of that. So what can help against the Warlock is somebody with some sort of Overwatch spec. Now, I don't have anyone in this squad, but since it's a retaliation and our Haven Advisor is going to be in place, if I remember this campaign correctly, and then this is an Overwatch Ranger, so he might be able to do that. Alternatively, we also have lead the target here on one of our sharpshooters. So that should be able to... we can set that up on one of the Spectral Lancers and then just kill him on the enemy turn. And this way we can kind of utilize the turn when the Chosen is in sustain to hopefully like go into a flanking position for the following turn where we can then take a big shot at him. That's the plan. We'll see if it actually works out. Alright, so here we are at the start of the mission. Again, keep in mind the mission type, so we can't just exclusively focus on the Chosen, but in this case we have a full retaliation. Also, I really tried to find missions from the previous campaign that were different, so I didn't want to show off 3 different intel retaliations. So, full retaliation. Similar though to the intel retaliation, the Chosen will show up after the first turn. So we have 7 to 9 regular enemies on the map. We kind of want to deal with them if we can. Now, the usual kind of stuff applies. In this case, I think I'm just gonna send in my Templar deep. Get some focus. Do I have wave already? Wonderful. Pick up some focus. Nice, nice, nice. And then how do we handle the other guy? You're just gonna need to move up. You don't have any targets anyway. Yeah, so you are an Overwatcher, so that's good. Do think we can circle the flamethrower all the way over there, even with Incinerator? No, we can. Leaves us with 1 charge of fire against the Warlock. I think that's good enough. That's worth it for hopefully controlling this engagement. Okay. He's burning, he's out of the fight. That also means what snipers will usually like to do is, of course, steady up on the low ground. We have grappling suits to get to the high ground when we know where the enemies are. Talking about knowing where the enemies are. Can we get you... We do some scouting as our shinobi? That would be kind of nice. But of course by the active enemy. Get you out on this side and you spot somebody. Berserker. And some other guys. Okay. Not necessarily we want to be fighting at the same time as the Chosen, but it's not like we're gonna have much of a choice. This is probably our most important positioning, having our gunner far enough ahead that he can engage that, but also potentially with Berserker. That's a wonderful spot. Training. Leaves us with our Overwatcher. We would hope to get an Overwatch shot in against the Chosen as he spawns, but I'm assuming he's gonna spawn like back here, so I think we're just gonna for now see if we can get shots on these guys there. I think I'll actually pull you back a little bit so we don't trigger even more enemies back there. Alright. Chosen in here. Oh, that's also kind of inconvenient. But hey, that's part of a retaliation mission. You're gonna have some faceless.
You have been judged.
Right, and then
I am your punishment.
first thing we're gonna do here at the start of the next turn is take a close look at his abilities. Right. One of his abilities is that all his sound files are way too loud, and then we're gonna blast your ears. Probably the most dangerous of his abilities. And some damage in, that's not bad. Yeah, and that was also the... Okay, they're running away. Nice, nice. Greatest champion in action. Alright, so, I mean, you will have already seen what I'm about to show, so I'm gonna cut that out of this part here. Let's fight the guy. Now, we of course, since he has the greatest champion on the Grenadier, we want to take him out. I want to check here. Can I actually get a rocket in there? Ooh, we could try. I mean, this is not a rocket technical, so the rockets are not going to be accurate. But hey, if we can land this, destroying maybe the Warlock's cover without hitting him, destroying the cover for the greatest champion, that would be PG. I'm not holding my breath for it, but I'm gonna click the button. Did hit the Warlock himself. Wait. Now that is interesting that that happens now. So we destroyed his cover, and instead of running back into safety, he's summoning his spectral army, his spectral lancers. So he's in stasis, he's immune. We need to kill these two guys. Well, of course, we also need to kill the greatest champion. But then he's sitting there out in the open. So definitely something we can try to set up here. We obviously also kind of need to kill the faceless. And doing all of that, we really want to be left alone. We don't want to fight the Berserker group. We can avoid it. To go there. This should be safe. It's not. Oh, right. Spotted by the faceless that is actually in my line of sight. Well, the good news is... the Berserker ran to the back. Well, it's not good news for our friends, the rebels, but it's good news for our friend Yeti here. So we just use some extra 8. And I think we're just gonna zap this guy here. It's not guaranteed to die from the burn, so let's just make sure he's dead. Okay. Now, while he's in stasis, his close combat specialist will obviously not trigger, so that's nothing to be worried about. We'll see what we do with you. You are in a position to take a cyclic fire on that guy next turn. I think for now, you're also in a great position to Get rid of that faceless. Should have maybe done that first. But I did the mistake of actually trusting the detection tiles. Ah, what a rookie error. Okay, let's finish off the greatest champion.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye indeed. So now there's only one guy left, which we ideally want to kill on an Overwatch. Like, we don't want to kill him now, because then the Warlock gets his full turn.
Understood. Moving
So
out.
let's get our Overwatcher over there. I'm being flanked by the Warlock here, but I think that's fine. I don't think these guys can come in. I want to definitely get up on the high ground with my sharpshooter. Well, if I take a shot, I have reposition. Yeah, maybe we can just pick up that sidewinder, please.
Shiny. We have a winner. It's not you. Okay.
Actually, I'm not even sure. That was not a flank target. We didn't get reposition. I used my death from above action. It's fine. We don't need steadied weapon next turn. I have other plans. Alright, what about you? We could try to get some damage in on that shield bearer. Not the worst shot ever. So, we have lead the target here. I could have set a lead the target for a more reliable Overwatch shot on the Berserker. The Spectral Lancer, but I have other plans here. I want to use my lead the target on the Warlock next turn. So my plan for next turn, and we'll see how long that plan is going to last, is to put a focus fire on him with our officer, put a lead the target on him with one sniper, and the other sniper is in direct line of sight. We're going to put him on Overwatch, even though he has, you know, damage reduction, or rather extra dodge and defense against Overwatch, but hey, it's worth a shot. And then we cyclic fire. And that should be a lot of damage without him being able to run to cover. That's kind of the plan here. Now, as always, most plans don't survive engagement with the enemy, but we'll see how it shakes out. Ike here doesn't really have a role in this plan. I could do another Overwatch against the Lancer.
I'm rolling.
Also pick up the loot.
Got it. Overwatching.
And then over here, I think we might as well just shield up.
I have it covered. Shot failed to connect.
That's terrible in all aspects. The Lancer buggers off, chasing some civilians, is now in high cover all the way on the other end of the map. And the Berserker's coming in.
Okay, next.
And he's looking a little bit pissed.
Elders would never have you fight such a futile battle.
We have 8 kills, but that includes 2 summons, 3 summons. So we have 5 kills, 1 active is 6. There's another group out there. So the question is, how do we deal with the Spectral Lancer? I could... Yes, the fancy play would be to just invert, and then we can shoot the Lancer here. You only have 81%. You probably have a decent shot, 87. No, let's do invert. If we run into, well, we're probably activating whatever the last group is, but I'm sure we'll be fine. By the way, do you have combatives? You can just tank that berserker. Okay. Berserk is controlled. And didn't even activate anyone. Okay, so then let's see if the plan actually survives engagement with the enemy here. Kill the Lancer. Excuse me. What's that? Kill the Lancer.
Dead as gonna need to reload soon.
And we're gonna focus fire the Warlock. Okay, I mean, you're an Overwatcher. Let's also put you on Overwatch. Put Taxman on Overwatch. Set up delete the target. And then let's see if we can delete the target. Oh, good old Cyclic Fire, 100% chance to hit. He has 40 HP. He doesn't get any stacking damage reduction like the Assassin or anything. This, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but this should just be clean up on aisle 3. Delete the target shot.
Hostile eliminated.
And that's the Warlock being dealt with.
From this world, these trivial defeats I have suffered at your hands will be all but forgotten by the elders.
Great job, Commander. But there's no trace of that Chosen left. I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of them. Still, at least we ruined their plans today.
Now, in this case of King, of course, a lot of things went surprisingly well. Like this rocket clutching out the whole cover destruction, and the Warlock then not running away, but rather going for his stun lancers while being out in the open. You can't. This was can't get any better than that Warlock engagement. Now, I'm not gonna in this video play out the rest of the mission. I mean, this is just mob up. We combatives tank this guy and then find the last enemies and kill them. But yeah, this is kind of the Warlock. It can go well like that. Doesn't necessarily always have to. But since you don't have to do a little mini game, just like with the Assassin, where you kind of have to keep her damage resistance in mind and you can't kill her in one turn. Hey, if you have the right setup, the right positioning, the right classes everywhere, and the right abilities, that is not necessarily a completely out of the ordinary result. Like, he can be well, technically not one-turned, but yeah, dealt with. Alright, we're gonna look at the Hunter in a couple days. If you have any questions about the Warlock encounter, anything that's giving you trouble there, let me know. And I guess the one thing I still want to point out, what was important here is to also then not trigger. It's kind of tempting to use other abilities on him, but we really didn't want to do any damage to him to not trigger his movement action, but rather than set everything up and then unleash hell on him. Just reiterating that. Alright, enough talk. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.